What's going on today, guys? It's another video from Hazmat Trucker, and this one was requested by, I believe his name was Cetus14 or something like that. He was asking why companies use double trailers for fuel hauling, and if it's any different loading at the loading rack, and what that process is like. So, getting right into it, for those of you who don't know, I was at Pilot for about a year and 3 months before I came to Gemini Motor Transport, and at least here in Wyoming, they run doubles for Pilot. And so, for those of you who don't know, generally on a normal trailer without running doubles, you're going to, depending upon the setup, you're going to be running about somewhere between 7,000 to 7,800 gallons of diesel, also depending upon the time of year, and then somewhere between 8,000 maybe to 9,000 gallons of gas, again, depending upon the setup and time of year. But for Pilot, I was on a regular basis hauling about 10,000 gallons of diesel and then about 11,000 gallons of gas, just depending. And so obviously the short answer is it's just more gallons. They're trying to maximize the amount of gallons that they're hauling over the most amount of distance. And so for Pilot, they would have a normal size tanker ranging anywhere from 45 to 48 feet, something like that. And then a pup behind it, a second trailer that we had to pull. So our total length, including usually an extended frame tractor, and then the two trailers, was anywhere from about 90 to 98 feet, somewhere in that range. It was a very different experience hauling doubles with fuel versus just doing one trailer, primarily because, at least with Pilot, with the trailers that we had, you couldn't back up because the second trailer, it didn't have a locking fifth wheel. And so as soon as you tried to back up, you could only go about 20 feet before that second trailer started to jackknife into your first trailer. So you had to be very cognizant of where you're going. And if you were going down the wrong road, the only way that you could get to the right road is by U-turn. So if you got to a place where you couldn't do a U-turn, you were in a world of hurt. Now, I will say Pilot is starting to move away from the doubles, and they have more recently gotten a few more super tankers or quad axle tankers to pull with some quad axle trucks instead of doing the doubles, just so they continue to have that flexibility of being able to back up. And to my knowledge, Pilot still does have about 4 or 5, at least with the crew that I used to run with here in Cheyenne, they still have about 4 or 5 setups of doubles that they still use on a regular basis. And the other thing about driving with doubles is obviously it's just more liability, because if you get into a wreck or some sort of accident and you end up spilling, it's already a huge deal if you spill with Hazmat. So you add another 3,000 or 4,000 gallons on top of what you're already normally carrying, and it's quite a big deal. Some people like it, others don't. I didn't mind it personally, but considering that I wasn't paid any extra for hauling doubles versus just what I'm doing now is just a normal tanker here at Gemini Motor Transport, it didn't really seem all that worth it. But at the end of the day, it was still doubles experience. And the only time it really hurt you was when you were coming back unloaded from wherever you had delivered to, and you ran into a bunch of ice on the road, because now not only do you have an empty trailer, and so you don't have nearly as much traction over your drive tires, but you also have the weight of that pup, which was generally about 7,000 pounds, give or take, that was pulling you. So if you're going uphill on ice unloaded with that pup, you could struggle sometimes to gain some traction. And again, it was just mediated by going slow. And as far as loading it, it's really not all that different. It's just the same process as loading a normal trailer, except for when you're done loading your first trailer, you obviously disconnect everything, the loading arms, the vapor hose, and the scully, and then you just pull forward to where your pup can actually reach. And that's also pretty easy to do. You just start memorizing where on the pavement that you have to pull up, if there's a line that you want to, sit right next to or whatever, or match your tire along a certain line to help you memorize where you need to pull up to get that loading arm to be able to reach to your pup. And then you just reconnect everything, load your pup, disconnect everything, and then you finish out and get your BOL or bill of lading, but really not all that different. It can be a bit cumbersome at some specific racks if the design to get into the rack is a little tedious. So, for example, to get into Suncor that we go into pretty frequently, and I did as well for Pilot with doubles, was you have to go down the road and then it's a right-hand turn off the road and it's a U-turn into the facility to be able to pull up to the loading rack. So that could be tedious because you're just having to make sure you're going to be able to clear everybody that's waiting in line as well as the gate. So you don't hit them with your first or second trailer. The only other difference for us specifically at Pilot was when we had to go down to Denver. Denver did have a doubles curfew. So it was if you were overweight or over length, so over 80,000 pounds, which we definitely were. And then we're over length, which I think was somewhere between 70 and 80 feet, which we definitely were. Then you had to stay out of the Denver metro area between, I want to say it was like 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. and then 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the afternoon in order to avoid extra traffic during those peak rush hours. And if you break that law, it was about a $200 fine that the company was definitely not going to pay for. So that meant you may have to sit at a rack after you're done loading to make sure that you're not on the road, or you may have to wait until the curfew is up before you go into the Denver metro area, just depending upon shift start time or load time. But that was pretty much it. Again, if you guys have any questions or if you guys want me to talk about anything specific, just let me know in the comment section down below and I'd be happy to do another video. So with that being said, if you found this video helpful, please give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. God bless.